Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar series. Today we'll start with Vande Mataram by C.C. Babu Garu. Let us all please stand up and sing the song.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayajasi Talam, Sasya Syamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram. Suprajyosna pulakitayaminim pullakusumita drumadala sobhinim suhasinim sumadhura bhashinim sukhadam varadam mataram vande mataram. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Dhanyawad.
Thank you, Babu Garu. I request Vishalaksha Garu to do prarthana.
Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Sesivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye. Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamasravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anasrunvannuti Sida Sadhanam. Om Sri Mahaganathipataye Namaha. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Pirvajini Vati Dhinam Avitriyavatu. Om Sri Maha Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara Swachaya Anma Pramadaha. Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Vyasa Sankara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Vishalaksha Garu. Now, good morning, everybody, once again. So far, we have completed Vedas, Vedangas, Dharma Sutras, Upanishads, and Darshanas. So our next topic is Vimana Shastra by our CSR Prabhu Garu. So I request CSR Prabhu Garu to take over the session.
Okay. Oh. Oh. Friends, today we'll be delving into a very exciting, challenging, and critical subject of Vimana Shastra. We have some fundamental questions, two fundamental questions I want to raise. First is whether all science and technology originated in the West, in Europe, in the last 200 years or not. Because all our textbooks in school and college, they mention only the discoveries made by Western scientists, mostly British or other European scientists. So it appears as if it is no possibility or no chance of any science or any knowledge of advanced level of activity or technology before all these people, say Newton or others, have started their scientific research. Questions like whether gravitation was known before Newton discovered it when the apple fell on his head. Similarly, other topics. Because if you accept that only from then it started, then you have to accept that the entire human civilization started only from Newton or such people. There was no knowledge of any science or any technology before, say, 17th century or 18th century or 19th century. In which case, it is not possible to have any visible evidence of any kind of technology or science before that period. But the evidence is the opposite. You can see, for example, the temples, Radhishwaralaya in Tanjavur, or the pagodas in Burma, or the pyramids in Egypt. They were not just before Newton, but they were hundreds and years, thousands of years before Newton. Or even the medical system, surgery of Sushruta. It was thousands of years before the modern allopathic medicine was initiated. Otherwise, human being would have not survived without medicine, without house construction, without city construction. Human society cannot survive. If it is true, if we have to believe what is mentioned in the textbooks, as all science originated in England or nearby England around 200 years ago, then we will be making ourselves the biggest fools on earth, because most of the monuments, most of the activities, highest achievements, wonders of the world and so on, Taj Mahal or even pyramids in Egypt, or even the Great Wall of China, or even the temples in South India, they are all hundreds of years and thousands of years before the birth of Western scientific research and contributions. This is a evident, self-evident observation, self-evident fact we have to accept. This. So how was the origin of science and technology? From where and from when? Obviously, it cannot be from only 200 years or only from Western world. If you look at the history of the world, the maximum developments in technology, science have happened outside Europe. The global domestic product in up to 1740, until the British entered India, 68% of global domestic product was shared between China and India. Europe had only 6%. And after the British colonization of India and after Indian independence, it became the opposite. Europe and America have more than 68, 70%. And India has 6%. India became one of the poorest countries in the world. It is a house which has been robbed thoroughly. Stolen, everything is stolen. Nothing is left out. People became poor, poorer and poorest. It's one of the poorest countries in the world after 1947. But till 1740, India was the richest country in the world along with China. So richness, wealth will come only when you have mineral resources and technology to harness, say gold or silver or diamonds. There are plenty in India. In fact, India was known as Sone ka chidiya, a sparrow of gold. That's why all the Western nations invaded India, colonized India, and Mughals, Turks, and every nationality started at destination is only India because they want to rob the gold and wealth in India. So now, the second fundamental question is, the conclusion for the first question is a big no. Science has not originated in the West, nor it has started only 200 years ago, or science and technology both. It has been there for a very long time, maybe thousands of years, because the pyramids are thousands of years old. Nobody can construct a pyramid today. Nobody can construct another Taj Mahal today. Nobody can construct anything of great magnitude today. Even the Buddha statue in Hyderabad Central Lake, Hussain Sagar, when it was made in a nearby town called Bongir, it was brought by a crane from Germany costing 2 crores per day. And after reaching Hyderabad, it was being taken into the center of the lake, and suddenly it was drowned in the lake. This is a well-known fact, and after a lot of painful efforts by many organizations, it could be lifted again and kept in the center of the lake. Now it is there in the center, and that is second tallest monolithic single rock structure. The first is Shravana Belagola in Karnataka. There is a Gomateshwara naked human statue of single rock, which is there on the top of a mountain. How did it go to the top of the mountain? We cannot even take it on the surface. Today, is it possible to shift, say, Buddha statue of Hyderabad onto the top of a mountain? It is not possible. So there are many such wonders of the world which cannot be repeated today. Say Taj Mahal. Suppose you give a contract to CPWD to construct one Taj Mahal equal. It is impossible. Aurangzeb tried to construct one equivalent in Bibika Maqbara at Aurangabad, and it looks horrible. I've been there. No comparison with Taj. So you can see that all advanced monuments, they required advanced technologies which were there, which were known to ancient people in India and also other countries, ancient civilizations like China, Egypt, Iran. I've seen many of the palace parts of Iran, Persepolis Palace at the Louvre Museum at Paris. They are massive structures. Persepolis Palace of Persians was a massive palace. How massive was the palace of Rama? How massive was the palace in Dwarka of Krishna? Nobody knows. How did they construct? Did they learn from Newton and Leibniz? And how the Ram Setu is constructed, linking India with Sri Lanka? So this is one question. The second question is, the descriptions given in Mahabharata or Ramayana, like Ram Setu, or the Astras, Brahmastra, which was like a nuclear bomb, or about Vimanas, they are regularly mentioned and described, not only Pushpak Viman, but in Mahabharata and Harivamsha, other Vimanas are also described being used, not fantasized, not imagined, but being used. Like there is one Saubhak Vimana in Mahabharata Harivamsha. A king by name Salva attacks Dwarka with Saubhak Vimana. And Krishna was out of station, so the local people had tried to throw some spears and throw some arrows on it, but it was made up of unbreakable material, something like steel, and nothing could happen. Until Krishna came back and sent the Sudarshan Chakra, which had flames, and those flames have cut that into pieces. So this is described. Is it just imagination? Because the description given in Pushpa Vimana about the earth, the scenario of what they see on the ground from Pushpa Vimana was accurate. And so many other such evidences. So all these descriptions, are they fake or are they real? That's the question. Some people say they are all fake, particularly Communist Party, Marxist Party in West Bengal or in Kerala, or the some of the Christian and missionaries or Muslim authors. They say it's all fake. Whatever is mentioned in Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, so many other references, they are 100% fake. Do they have evidence that it is fake? They have no evidence. And there are others on the right side, the right wing. They all think they are all absolutely true. But do they have evidence? They don't have. So both the sides of the Lakshman Rekha are not having any evidence. So whatever claims they make, either it is true or false, cannot be substantiated with any evidence. So these two questions were intriguing to me in my childhood onwards, and I'm sure they are intriguing questions to most of you here and most of the people in the society, in the world. So I tried to answer these two questions on my own, and you have seen my lecture on physics of Vaiseshika. I spent 15 years or 20 years to write that book. It was a very difficult task because most of the books available in Sanskrit or Hindi or Telugu are philosophically oriented. There is no science and technology. Even on a text on science and technology, like Vaiseshika Sutras, the interpretations given by our well-known, renowned scholars of Sanskrit were not scientific, they were philosophical. And that is the reason why the science in ancient scriptures was not brought forward, because our own scholars, the Vedic scholars or Sanskrit scholars, they have lost the original understanding of science and technology in our own scriptures. When it is very clearly brought in front of them also, they cannot understand. I have met such people who are supposed to be experts in Vaiseshika, who are the resident scholars in Shankar Mutt at Hyderabad. And I have asked them, what is this sutra meaning? Whatever meaning they gave was not physical. It was some philosophical, abstract meaning. But that's not, it's very clearly, apam sanghato vilayanancha tejas samyogat. Liquid state or water will get synthesized or decomposed upon contact with energy. That person neither knew energy, nor knew liquid, nor knew electrolysis, nor knew electricity, nor knew the formation of water by combination of hydrogen bonds. He never heard of these things because he never studied science. So he studied Sanskrit, and in that he lost the spirit of science. And most of the Vedic scholars are also in the same state. Most of the Vedic scholars, 90% or more of them, cannot understand even one word of what they are chanting. I am sorry to say this. They simply chant, and they chant it correctly. That's fine, because they don't know the subject of grammar, etymology, and so on. Vedangas and Upangas, Darshanas, they know nothing. But the remaining 10% do know, because they have studied the Sangopanga Veda, Anga Upangas, Vedangas and Veda Upangas, which are Darshanas. They have covered till yesterday. They have studied those things, so they know the meaning. But again, they will give only a philosophical interpretation. Everything is towards philosophy only. No science and technology can be understood by them or practiced. But on the other hand, we have practitioners like Sthapatis, who construct big temples, who construct houses, who construct palaces. They know technology, but they talk in their own jargon or terminology, and they will simply do it rather than explain it. Because without knowing structural analysis, how will they construct a multi-story building? But they construct without studying modern engineering college. They have their own empirical knowledge, they have their own formulas, they have their own thumb rules, they construct, but they cannot explain structural engineering. So this is the problem. You can't say there is no knowledge of structural engineering, because no knowledge of gravitation, no knowledge of strength of materials. They are able to implement all that. For hundreds and thousands of years, temples have been constructed. The Tanjavur Brihadiswara temple has a very big single stone at the top of the temple Sikhar. And it is so heavy that today nobody can take it to such a height. It's impossible. How did they take it? Just like the Ravana Belabada Gomadeshwara single monolith, world's largest, world's tallest monolithic statue. There are no such wonders in Europe of that period, or in America, or in Middle East. Only pyramids are the wonders which nobody can. Today, nobody can construct one single pyramid. So these two big questions are the intriguing challenges for any young man. And I try to answer with my own research to some extent. I wrote that book on physics of Vaisheshika, where I could decipher the basic principles of physics like gravitation, force, acceleration, motion, and so on. But that is just basic. That will not explain how the Vimanas will fly, or how the huge structures were constructed with the heaviest stones at the top pinnacle. I am not saying that I have understood all those things as of today. I have not understood most of them. I am sure most of the people have not understood. Nobody understands really all those topics. And those who know that subject, like the Sthapatis and the Ganapati Sthapati and others, they will not explain in modern terms. They have their own closeted or partly secretive or partly internalized empirical tacit knowledge which they utilize to execute their problems. I met the Ganapati Sthapati in Chennai, passed away recently. He constructed the Valluvar Kottam, and he constructed the Vivekananda statue at Kanyakumari and so on. He belongs to the lineage of Mayasura. Maya and Vishwakarma were the two engineers of the world. Vishwakarma constructed many structures, like say the Dwarka temple. So this is an intriguing big question mark, two question marks. I'm sure you all know these two questions. So now I'll go into the second part of my research. First was Vaisheshika, which I covered yesterday. That was theoretical basis foundation for physics, which is fundamental because that's the only book on physics. All other books were mathematics, astronomy, etc., where some part of physics was inherently there, like when Aryabhatta, Bhaskara tracked the motions of planets, and they knew the heliocentric theory, and they knew gravitation so well, and they were tracking the, like our people are so accurate in predicting eclipses. They have been predicting eclipses for thousands of years. Unless they track the planetary motion correctly, it's not possible to predict eclipses correctly. How did they do it? They have their calculations, that is Jyotish Shastra. And somebody is going to cover Panchangam, which is part of Jyotisha, and somebody is going to cover Vastu, which is the foundation of civil engineering and architecture. So you have to accept that there was some kind of science and technology which was very advanced. It was more advanced before Mahabharata, but it continued to exist till our modern Western engineering or technology or science originated in 18th century. And no wonder that these Western originators of science and technology understandably have stolen many concepts and claimed themselves to be the originators, which is a fake claim. high time that we expose. My book on physics of Vaisheshika exposes the claims of Newton being the first one to have discovered gravitation or laws of motion, and many other things. And many other claims like that which are going around in the textbooks today are big fakes. They need to be demolished, and the original authors have to be brought into the fore, whether it is Aryabhatta, Bhaskara, Kanada, atomic theory, or whatever you take out of different subjects. A lot of efforts are being made by many organizations. IIT Kharagpur established a center recently. IIT Bombay has a center, and IIT Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, also has a activity in this. So many subjects like logic, Navya Nyaya. So they're trying to have a bridge, an interdisciplinary study of the ancient knowledge systems with the modern knowledge systems. I'm not attacking modern knowledge systems. They are equally important. They have originated around 200 years ago, and India has the largest number of scientific and technological pool of manpower in the world today, much more than US. But most of this manpower is not very useful to this country, nor they are very highly competent, and they don't do much. Some research is being done in some few places like IITs and IIITs, and so the logic of criticizing ancient wisdom or ancient science and technology is very foolish, because in front of you, you have the evidences, you have the temples, you have the monuments, you have the pyramids. You can't say they didn't know anything. Only now we have found out everything. So, and similarly, medical system, surgery, Ayurveda is there for thousands of years. Without medicine, how can human society survive, you tell me? They would all died by now. If there was no medical system at all, no human being would be able to exist today. And textiles, in fact, the most powerful, richest Roman emperors they were wearing Indian textiles imported from India. And there was no cotton in Europe. There were no spices in Europe. Indian spices were taken to preserve meat. So India became richest country because all gold was paid in return for spices and for textiles and for metallurgy and so on. So till 1740 AD, India was the richest country in the world. This you can verify. Anger Madison is there. He has written many papers, books, and so on. And also we have Kanaka Sabhapati, who wrote a book, Coimbatore. I'm in touch with him. So there's enough evidence that India was the richest country in the world in 1740 AD, and it became the poorest country after independence, one of the poorest countries. So looting, direct transfer of wealth, shifting gold and diamonds from Indian princes to UK, Robert Clive and all kinds of rascals like that were looters. Any economics textbook will show how the British exploited India. First chapter in any economy book, British exploitation of Indian economy. Number 1, direct looting. Number 2, indirect looting. Number 3, wealth transfer. Number 4, policies. Like all cotton used to go from India to England, and it was woven into cloth there and sent back to India. Glasgow cloth. All such things have been, such mischief has been done due to colonization. And India was kept suppressed in scientific studies and research. And West took off in a big way. The industrialization, industrial revolution, all kinds of things happened in the West, but India was kept suppressed to the maximum. So after independence, the same trend continued for some time, except for the IITs. I studied in IIT Bombay, then IIITs came, and then some advanced centers have started coming. So hopefully in the new education, national education policy, interdisciplinary research will include even the ancient wisdom, ancient science and technology. In fact, JNU, for example, has an interdisciplinary center for Ayurveda and biochemistry, molecular biology together. Similar interdisciplinary research projects are being proposed in many institutions, and they may come out with some extraordinary things like the Nobel Prize received by China 2 years back in, few years back on in health sector was by a Chinese lady who never knew English, also never went into any English institution. She developed a Chinese herbal medicine product for malaria. So many such products exist in Ayurveda. Why we are not getting any Nobel Prize? So these are all questions. Every item in Ayurveda, yoga, or Indian traditional knowledge like metallurgy or architecture or engineering can get Nobel Prizes if you properly bring it forth to the world outside, like the Chinese lady did. So the value of ancient science, or sometimes known as Vedic science, or known as ancient Indian science and technology, is stupendous. So in NIC, National Informatics Center, Dr. Seshagiri, who was our boss, in 1990, he created a project called Traditional Sciences and Technologies of India. And he appointed me as head of it. He appointed me as head of General Information Service Terminal of NIC. This week, one part of it was a database on traditional science and technologies of India. So I created around 5,000 items of traditional science and technology in India in English, comprising of 100 subjects on 10 major areas. One area is agriculture, other is metallurgy, other is architecture, and so on, medicine, and so on. So that database also was removed after the opponents came into power. So the Congress party and their cohorts and partners, Marxist party, they're all dead against all this. They have faked all the narratives in the NCRT textbooks. Now court cases are going on. Neeraj Attri got a court case in his favor to change the NCRT textbooks. Sanjay Dixit, all these people are involved in this kind of act. Such a big fakery has been happening for the last 75 years under Congress rule. Now coming to the Vimana Shastra proper, this Vimana Shastra is very, very critical and important because it explains the most advanced technological feats, the Vimanas, not just like Pushpa Vimana like in Ramayana. Valmiki is not a technology author to write a technology textbook. Ramayana is not a technology textbook or Shastra. It is a Kavya. It is a description of what events have happened. Whereas a Shastra like Ayurveda Shastra, Shilpa Shastra, Vastu Shastra is not going to describe the events. It is going to describe the technology. Like we have Vishwakarma Vastu Shastra, we have Maya Matam, and we have Manasaram giving details of how to construct 15-story palaces. And the city of Jaipur is entirely built on Vastu Shastra. So all these are very much there. And if you have to close your eyes, then they will not. If you open your eyes, they are there. And the surgical instruments used by Sushruta, described by Sushruta and Sushruta Samhita, are directly imported and copied into modern surgery. All our present-day medical surgeons are using the same instruments which Sushruta has described, and most of them don't know about it. They think they have learned from United Kingdom. United Kingdom did not exist when Sushruta existed. So this is a very atrocious situation. So Vimana Shastra is a text like any other Shastra which explains how to build Vimanas. You can't build Vimanas directly, you have to build their parts, the machines, and how to build those machines. You cannot build machines directly unless you build the parts of the machines, machine design and the parts. And how to build the parts is given in detail and then assemble into yantras. There are 31 yantras, and then assemble into Vimanas. So, and to build the parts, you require materials. So you cannot build a Vimana without the yantras. You can't build a yantra without the parts, and you cannot build a part without the material. So therefore, I focused on the materials, whether we can decipher and reproduce. Before me also, some efforts were done in IIT Bombay. When Chumbak Mani was produced, it was confirmed as a soft ferrite and a semiconductor. Semiconductors were created in modern times in 1950s. Germanium was the first semiconductor, then silicon. So, but this is some hundreds and thousands of years old, and it's a mixture. It's not even a compound. It has some 10, 15 elements. I mean, materials molten and brought out, and the Chumbak Mani turned out to be a semiconductor. It was a big sensation. IIT Bombay conducted experiments, TIFR conducted experiments. And they confirmed it is a semiconductor, it is a soft ferrite. So after that, I entered the scene under compulsion because there was one Birla Science Center, it is still there. The head of it, when Dr. B.G. Siddharth was there, Birla Planetarium and Birla Science Center in Hyderabad. He was previously at Calcutta. So when we got these texts, because actually he met me in 86 and 87, 88, when I set up the NIC office at Hyderabad. Gautam Mukherjee visited us in those early days. So during that time, Dr. B.G. Siddharth of Birla Planetarium, which is just across the street from NIC building, he came one day to NIC and said, do you have any references of any lenses which can be used for telescope observation of the planets like Mercury and Venus? Because the Rig Veda has descriptions of the phases of Mercury and Venus just like the phases of Moon. And nobody can see with naked eye. So you require a lens, a telescope kind of thing. He asked me whether any such material is there. Then I told in Vimana Shastra we have some 40 odd different glasses with different properties. Some of them are lenses, can be made into lenses. Because even Kalidasa mentions about Suryakanta Mani, which will focus all the energy onto something so as to burn it, like our magnifying glass. When he describes the Mahapurushas, the pages of Mahapurusha will be like Suryakanta Mani, which will focus all energy onto an object to burn it. So that means they knew the lens, and our Ayurveda, large molecules, proteins, and other things can be observed in microscope. If you know the lens, you can observe in microscope, you can observe in telescope the planets. So that is how Dr. Siddharth came to contact me, and then I said to us, I have this book, but let us conduct a seminar. So we conducted a seminar, Ancient Indian Science and Technology, on 4th December of 1990, sorry, 89, 90, sorry. So in that seminar, we demonstrated this Chumak Mani from IIT Bombay. My friend Naren Sheth came from there. He was a Bombay resident who worked with Professor Buskute at IIT Bombay Chemical Engineering Lab. And that Chumak Mani, when it was placed in Parakrantika Draw and exposed to sunlight, and it had leads with Panchathara Loha, 2 wires, it produced electricity, photovoltaic effect. And that was quite significant because it is measurable. It was comparable to germanium. So this came in newspapers in Hindu and others. Did ancient Indians know semiconductors? Question mark. So reading those new items, the Russians and Americans made phone calls to us. What is this? Please give details. And more interesting was a person who attended that seminar, who was one Venamandra person. So he is belonging to Vaidipatnam area in Hyderabad, and he said, I have seen the original manuscripts of Vimana Shastra and other texts 36 years ago in Bangalore. So I took him to Bangalore with another person from Salarjung Museum who worked there. Previously was with the Veda Science Center. And we formed a committee and went to Bangalore to that house. We located the house of the great-grandson of Subrai Shastri, who orally delivered a large number of texts. And those texts are written on old paper, dated 1919, 1912, 1930, 1940. We have taken all those Xerox copies of them by carrying a Xerox machine from here. And this was done officially. My boss in NIC, Dr. Seshpuri, asked me to take a scanner, but I thought the scanner gets damaged. It will be a big problem. So we Xerox around 2,000 pages of around 10 to 12 different texts and brought back to Hyderabad. And there was a receipt given there that around 90 textbooks were taken by 90 by one G.R. Joseph of Mysore from this person, Venkatram Shastri, who was the adopted grandson of Subrai Shastri, who were Telugu speaking Bharadwaj Gotra Brahmins of Anekal near Bangalore. So this Joseph was in Mysore, so I went to Mysore, and he died and his son is there, and he said, I don't have anything, my father has given it off to others. They published one book, Vimana Shastra in English. And then he gave some other addresses in Jayanagar in Bangalore. And one film personality and one Swamiji and all that. So I went and met them. What happened to those manuscripts which Joseph sir gave you? Then they said, no, I had it. I gave it to somebody else and all that. So finally in Madikere, one person, Subramanian Iyer, was there, who was supposed to have one manuscript of Amshubodhini. So when I tried to catch him, he himself came to Bangalore. In Vayali Kaval, I met him and he gave me whatever he had. So that was an Amshubodhini. He was happy that somebody came in search after so many years. So whatever we could gather, we gathered. Whatever we could not gather, we are lost in the past. They're spread out everywhere. We can't trace them. So we brought back to Xerox copies to Hyderabad and we gave a press conference. We formed a committee, Dr. B.G. Siddharth and myself and Professor M.C. Ganorkar, who was the HOD of Chemistry Department of Usman University, retired, who was the head of the Birla Institute of Scientific Research, a laboratory at Dilsukh Nagar, Asmangarh Palace. He had PhD students under him doing chemistry, and so we told the press, to the world, that we are going to decipher something out of it with the help of this Naren Sheth and others, and we are going to produce some new items. So after giving this press conference, the real problem began. This Naren Sheth from Bombay, he said whatever he's going to help in producing, he wants the patent rights on his name. And the Birla Science Center are saying nothing doing. We are Birlas, we are going to spend money, so we had to get patent rights on our name. So that fellow said, get lost. So he just dumped these people. And then we were in an embarrassing situation, having given a press statement that we are going to reproduce something out of it after deciphering. We landed in a situation, nothing can be done, the fellow is left. So in that crisis situation, in order to salvage that situation, I entered into the shoes of Naren Sheth. In other words, I started trying my luck in deciphering something out of it. So every day morning at 3 o'clock, I used to get up and sit with these manuscripts, Xerox copies, and trying to find out something. One of it is already printed, Vimana Shastra, in Hindi, original plus Hindi by R.F. Prathinsa in 1959. But original manuscripts are 1911, 1912, 1939, up to 1940, after which Subra Shastri died. So these delving them like Addimar, Guddi, Debba, we just kept on, I was trying this or this or this or this, because there are more than 200 materials, recipes given there, formulation given there. But I took the simplest first, only 3 ingredients. Many of them had 10 ingredients, 20 ingredients. So the simplest is very exciting. It is called Tamogarbhaloha. Krishna Sisam Chanjanikam Vajratundam Samam Sataha Sampurya Suktimushayam Satakakshoshna Vegataha. Krishna Sisam Anjanikam Vajratundam. What are these? X, Y, Z. You bring these 3 and mix them and melt them in a crucible, and then you will get a black material which is called Tamogarbhaloha. Pour it slowly, that is heat treatment, and then use that for light absorption in a Tamo Yantra. So I was struggling to find out what these 3 words are. Krishna Sisam, Anjanikam, Vajratundam. Krishna Sisam is clearly black lead. Lead, black lead. And Anjanikam was the material is not known what it is, and Vajratundam also is not known what it is. So what happened? The dictionaries, I searched all possible dictionaries. I met so many scholars. Finally, Ayurveda scholars also I met. Anjanikam was given as Surma in Hindi. Surma is the eye this thing which is kept on the ice. So one day, one person by name Anjanananda came to my house. He was a yogi of high order. He was not eating food also, only fruits he was taking. So he was staying in my house for one day and he understood my problem. Then he said, you go to Munalal Davasas, which is a stop at Begum Bazaar, and ask him Surma. And then he'll ask you Kala or Safed, you tell Kala, then bring it. So I went and told Surma, then he brought Kala, then he brought one black stone, which is called Galena, lead sulfide ore, mineral ore. So that was the right one. So I brought it. And then the third item is Vajratundam. That means nose or trunk, which is like diamond, hard. So if you look at the Ayurveda books, I met many Ayurveda people, they said, no, 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 no. This is nothing to do with Garutman, because Garutman is supposed to have Vajra. Garutman cannot come and melt in the crucible. So it has to be some material. Finally, we cracked it to be a plant. It is a cactus plant. You know, it has thorns which are very hard. That's why it is called Vajratunda. So they asked, we want which many cactus plants are there, round and tall and all that. Finally, they said it is a tall one you have to take. So we took that, and Samamshita equal proportion in weight and melted in the crucible in the chemistry lab of the Birla Institute of Scientific Research. And it melted around 1200 degrees centigrade. They said Shatakakshna Vyagata, 100 kakshas of temperature according to them. So after getting it 500, I mean 12.5 roughly degrees is the one kaksha is what we understood roughly, not linear scale. Then we got that material, then we took around to various labs to find out what are its properties. So we went to physics department of Usman University, then they said, let us see what happens when you put laser on it. So red ruby laser beam was made to fall on it, and then it was kept, and the reflectivity and absorption characteristics were drawn by the physics professor. And it came out to be 79% absorbing the laser light. Tamo Garbha. So we got a patent for it. Of course, on the name of Birla Science Center. Even my name is, I'm one of the investigators, but the name is Birla Science Center. So then we tried one Panchaloham, which had only 3 ingredients. Name is Pancha, but had only 3 ingredients. So that is copper, zinc, and lead in a particular proportion. And lead was again from the same Anjanikam, lead sulfide. Again, we melted and we poured and we got a copper alloy. I'll show you now each one of them. This is the Tamogarbha Loha. And this is a big piece which I made in Jain University in Bangalore recently. And it also has a cylindrical form. And the original piece, which was 1 centimeter square, which was used for testing the absorption characteristics, is here. This is 1 centimeter square. We used in the physics lab of Usman University. And this Panchaloha is here. It is also here. It's a big size piece I made recently in the Jain University in Bangalore outskirts. So this is like Godhemavarnam Murdulam, he said about this. So why it is called Murdulam? Because it is not soft to the hand, but when you machine it, it turned out to be very soft. And then the other one we made was Araratamram, which was used in Vakra Prasarana Yantram. For it's a gearbox for sharp turns. It has got 16 gear wheels in it. And those gear wheels were having a design like this. Let me see if I can show you the design. So we finally made the Araratamram in the Vakra Prasarana Yantram scaled down model. It was 24-inch dia. This is only 4-inch dia. So you can see there are 2 outputs. So when the steering is turned, one of them turns in one direction, the other will turn in the other direction. These 2 outputs, one will be in one direction, the other is in the other direction. Opposite, reverse. There are 16 gear wheels in it. Krakachangala chakrebhyo shodashebhyo yatha vidhi. So these kind of descriptions have been realized in the labs. Various labs were utilized: NGRI, DMR, DRDL, Uspar University, JNTU. So all these things have been produced, and some glasses were also produced, ceramics and glasses. This is a glass which can absorb heat, cooling glass. So this is the outcome of my research during late 80s and early 90s. And I hit a roadblock when I found that I cannot make new materials which require very high temperature furnaces, which don't exist. 2500 degrees temperature furnace was required, which was not there. DMRL had only 1400 degrees. So these materials could be made, not other materials. So this is the story of Vimana Shastra, my friends. And let me explain that Vimana Shastra more detail. Of course, most of it is controversial. Let me be very frank, that is controversial. Because unless and I showed these evidences, nobody would believe that there could be any truth in it. Everybody thought it's a big fake. So many fakes are there. This is also a big fake. So now they admitted finally that, okay, these materials are true. What about all other things? All other things are. What about Pushpa Vimana? I cannot make Pushpa Vimana. I am not Vishwakarma. So, what about Shakuna Vimana? What about Rukma Vimana? What about? So this Rukma Vimana had a shape similar to Apollo 11. So one lady came from London searching for me, because when she suggested to aeronautical textbooks that the Vimana Shastra references of India should be added there, they refused, saying there is no evidence. So she found evidence only this, whatever I produced, and then came running to me in Hyderabad. Her name is Jyotika, and she told me that this Apollo 11 design is same as the Rukma Vimana design. And then possibly they have taken these things there, we don't know. And then the V2 rockets by Germans, because there were no rocketry in Europe. In India it was there. Even Mughal wars used rockets. Tipu Sultan used rockets. In NASA they have put a Tipu Sultan statue there, and also the rockets. And the rockets are described in Sundara Vimana rocketry principles, thrust and then nozzle and all those things. So there are 200 materials, out of which I produced 5 or 6. So all 200 is going to make. So I proposed an institute for this, Bharadwaj Institute of Vedic Science and Technology. I got land also purchased for myself. I still have that land, but there's no building there. So I don't have money to. I mean, the RSS number 2, Suresh Soni, came to my house and said he will arrange 50 lakhs. Till today, it has not been arranged. And Ram Madhav made me preparing the plan brochure. After that, he forgot about it. And some others also tried. They also got some results, and some of them started copying whatever I did and saying that they did it. All kinds of things happen in this world. And now there are more than half a dozen independent groups who produce results from the same text. Of course, the entire text is not understandable. Vimanas cannot be built because the machines themselves cannot be built. Only Vakraprasarana Yantra, this is the only machine we could build till today. Nobody built any other machine. Nobody understands anything, but they'll bluff a lot. Of course, there are some youth groups who are interested in this, and they just keep talking nonsense. They don't understand anything because they don't know Sanskrit. It's not just those who know Sanskrit, like Sanskrit Bharati people, they cannot decipher this Vimana Shastra because it has many complex words, many archaic words. They know Mama Nama, Savitri, Bhavata Nama, Kim, this kind of dialogues they will make. That will not take you anywhere. Even if you take Pravesha or this kind of thing, you can at most read some sentences or write some sentences. That will not take you anywhere. We are talking of deciphering a 5,000, 10,000-year-old text. They cannot do it. So I'm not saying they should not learn Sanskrit, but this is way beyond. So it has many mysterious things in it, many, even occult powers had to be used. I'm sure whatever results I got at that time, I could not have got unless there was some help from so many sources, both known and unknown, mysterious also. I told you that Anjanananda came and told me, gave me these clues. And then every day morning, 3 to 6, I was delving into it. So I belong to the same clan as Subraya Shastri, who delivered this book, whose original author is supposed to be Bharadwaja. So many factors are involved, and yoga is also involved in intuition, getting ideas, suddenly you get the idea. So even today, I am not able to make much progress because of various constraints. Then at one stage, I diverted into other texts of mantra. Without mantra, there are some herbal formulations. There is an Agni Stambhanam. It is a herbal spray. My son was also very young at that time. He was also involved in that experiment. So that herbal spray was capable of making any item fireproof. Kinchid vastur na dahyate, no object shall burn. It was really working. We got a patent for it. This time I got a patent on my own. And then I made one Anaharam also from Tantra Shastra text and also from Ardha Shastra text, using which you will not require meals. You can skip food. If you take one laddu, we can skip one meal. Anaharam. And we gave this trials on diabetics and obesity cases in Bangalore. Vijayadhar Shetty's clinic, and we got results also. 40 days you take this laddu, diabetes is fixed and obesity is also fixed because they are cutting down the calorie intake from 6,000 calories to 150 calories for one meal, not all meals. So these are all there in my report. I will share that report with you very soon in the group. That is very famous. High technology in ancient Sanskrit manuscripts is the title of that report. Now I want to stop here. I want to initiate a discussion.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu Garu. Now we had a very interesting technical talk on Vimana Shastra. All these technologies were existing, as we see from Sanskrit manuscripts. Only thing is how to get that technology in today's world with the help of those literature that is being explored. So anybody wants to contribute or question, we have enough time today, thanks to Prabhu Garu. He has given us enough time. Now, Gautamji, unmute him.
Namaskar, Prabhuji.
Yeah, namaskar.
Sir, how many in the Vimana Shastra? How many there are texts? There are shlokas presently. Shlokas.
It's quite big. It's about 200-300 pages book, which has many chapters. Starting from the definition of Vimana. What is Vimana? So the definition itself says, Gramat Gramantaram va, Deshat Deshantaram va, Lokat Lokantaram va. Interplanetary travel is also described apart from local travel. So Vimana is not just aircraft, some of them are spacecrafts. And they were traveling much longer distances than what today our spacecrafts are able to travel. And then there are chapters on dress, astronaut kind of dress, which is quite different from the modern astronaut dress. And there are special food recipes given to be taken on the Vimana for long travel. I prepared one of them, very high protein tablets kind of thing, laddu kind of thing. They don't require food. And he has given 31 yantras. Each yantra has a different function. Some yantras are rocketry functions, some yantras are... Actually, he has described outer space phenomena which are quite unknown to modern science. Like what will happen when a Vimana enters, a craft enters the conjunction of the orbits of planets. So it will suffer certain special effects. So those things are being described. And what will happen about meteorites? How many categories of meteorites are there? Meteorite impact, and how to protect. What kind of machines are there to protect from meteorite impacts? All this, I have given a lecture in ISRO in Bangalore explaining the outer space phenomena described in Shastra, and they agreed, because they themselves have not gone to that level as yet.
Sir, it will be it will be worthwhile if you take another session for totally all these things. Actually, it is not worth completing in one.
The other day we were asking about electrical machines. There are 13 electrical machines. I tried to decipher from 1975-76 when I was a BTech student. Vidyut yantra, Vidyut vajak yantra, Vidyut utpadak yantra, all within the Vimana they are to be used. They are something like battery, something like motor, something like generator, DC only, no AC. So, and also high voltage. Vidyut vajak yantra is a high voltage neutralizer of lightning. It will give the opposite polarity to lightning and neutralizes lightning and converts lightning energy into light. Vidyut dayo bhuta krishanuvego pashantakam mahadhyutiyutam bhasurabhanu bhasuram. There is no such thing today possible. There is a material called Vidyut darpana which can absorb lightning and convert it into light. And I tried to produce that, but I could not, because some two words could not be deciphered. And there is one Ghantaravaloha, which is a material which is highly sensitive to all types of sounds. And there is one Badhiraloha, which is soundproof. There are so many such things. Guha Garbhadarsh Yantra, how to find out the underground metallic bombs from the Vimana. It is kept on the bosom of the Vimana. A particular radiation is sent, and then it will impinge the metallic and get back reflected image on the screen. He has his own screen, the coating of the screen. That material is Chumbakmani, which is a soft ferrite, which is able to generate microwave radiation. It is amazing. I mean, people will go mad. And there are some very advanced Star Wars kinds of wars description there, which people thought it is all fake. People thought this is all kind of fake. So only when I produce some of these things, and some others also, not that only I produce, there are some 6 different parties at 6 different times, at 6 different locations, who could reproduce different new materials. Therefore, it cannot be fake, no? Induction.
So, as if I'm wishing for myself that I go to you and learn in close contact because I'm from physics background, sir.
It is a most exciting thing. Now we try to make the Rukma Vimana and make it fly. It is a vertical takeoff plan. We will take off vertical. And we made the part of it in one engineering college here. But some parts we are not able to understand. It is actually using anti-gravity. We are not able to understand. It is more advanced than today's technology.
Yes, UFO and so on, that is sometimes hard. But you have seen some UFO reportings are there.
Some NASA people also tried, and some Europeans tried. There is a lot of literature on it. Many American and European youth, they started saying these Vimanas are UFOs.
Oh,
at that time.
Vimana, these are not simple airplanes, but it is a way to construct UFOs. Kind
Yeah,
of.
they are saying
Hmm.
in those days when this Vimana Shastra was in vogue, those crafts are UFOs using which the extraterrestrial beings were entering in Earth. And they are linking with the Puranic descriptions of Deva, Gandharva, Yaksha, Kindara, Kimpurusha, Siddha, Charana, Vidyadhara, Rakshasa, Yaksha. All these are different beings other than humans. Humans are only Manavas. See that fellow Ravana, he got a power to not to be killed by anybody except humans. Because humans, he thought they're worthless people, they cannot kill him at any cost. So he has got a clearance of his immortality with Deva, Gandharva, Yaksha, Kinnara, Kimpurusha, Vidyadhara, Rakshasa, everyone. Where are they? They are not there today on earth. They are somewhere. They are in their own worlds. So what these people say are they are coming in Vimanas. Puranas have described Vimanas. The Gandharvas coming, Devas coming in Vimanas, Yakshas coming in Vimanas, traveling and watching what is happening, appearing, going. All these things have been described, but in the past, not today. So these people, the modern youth are saying they are all extraterrestrials who came in UFOs, and Vimanas are UFOs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gautamji. Thank you, Prabhu Garu. One more question from Sugunan Vemuri. Will you please explain what is Ishvara Pranidhana?
Ishvara Pranidhana.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with today's lecture. I've already explained yesterday. You refer to that.
Shandilya ji, I think he is waiting.
Yeah.
Namaskar, Prabhu Garu.
Namaskar, Sandilya Garu.
Yes. You have wonderfully explained the physical aspect of spirituality. Mostly we listen philosophy side. Have you done any experiment on human physical for evolution of nature?
No, that is under Ayurveda.
I mean to say, Ayurveda is for evolution, not for just treatment.
Both. You see, they have treatments which will postpone old age. Like Chavan. Chavan became young man. And they also have treatments which can increase your longevity.
Okay.
Kaya Kalpa, Chikitsa. Of course, yoga is also related topic to your question. Yoga is meant for evolution. So we have many other sessions on yoga next 1 month. How yoga can help in evolution, and how modern day problems are created by the disturbed mind. The main problem here is the mind. The modern day problem, either Ukraine war or any bloody problem, even in India, so many problems are created by human beings who have their minds highly disturbed. They cannot keep their mind calm even for 5 minutes. And the calming of the mind, taming of the mind, like even some doctorates and scholars and scientists, they have very violent reactions sometimes.
Yes.
They cannot keep their mind calm. So calming the mind, making it subtle and finally divine, and have the super mind and super conscience and what all Aurobindo described. All that is yoga only. In fact, Aurobindo gave a statement, all life is yoga. So the yoga system, higher yoga, which we'll be covering along with the Hatha Yoga in our 3rd month. Yesterday, day before, we have covered Yoga Sutras, how the evolution will happen. Patanjali has explicitly described the evolution. Parinama. The word parinama is used, and elaborate discussion has taken place to such an extent that the extraordinary powers have come, occult powers to humans. So the siddhis we have described them. Aurobindo also is supposed to have experienced some siddhis, and also Vivekananda and others. So those siddhis are all part of evolution only. Finally, becoming Superman or being divine, not human anymore. So that is evolution. In fact, there is an interesting episode I saw in Manali. There is a temple of Hidimba.
Yeah.
Is the mother of Ghatotkacha.
Yes.
They are supposed to be Rakshasas.
Yeah.
So when I asked them there why you are having a temple for a Rakshas woman, the answer given to is she was born as Rakshasi, but she evolved into a Devta, divine.
Yeah.
So there's a temple for her there. And she is being equated with Mataji.
Okay.
So the evolution is so high. Like people pray to the mother in Aurobindo Ashram or pray to Aurobindo also in Aurobindo Ashram. So even what we pray to Hanuman or we pray to Rama, all these are not human beings, just ordinary human beings. Hanuman was not a human being anyway, but Rama was a human being, but he evolved so high.
Yeah.
So that is evolution. That is yoga is the process of evolution. Okay, any other question on the today's topic? Because yoga we have discussed yesterday and therefore we'll again discuss one month.
Okay, one question from chat, not a question, inquiry. Suggest any book on Vimana Shastra.
The Vimana Shastra itself, it is there in Hindi. It is published by Arya Pratnidhi Sabha.
One more,
1959.
before we take on the question from CC Babu and no, Sugunan wants to talk because he asked a question before where you are answering. Sugunan Vemuri, can you unmute him? Okay, Sugnanji, go ahead.
Namaste, sir.
Yeah.
Please bear with me if my way of questioning is not proper. But we generally come across this situation. Some of my nephews and the relatives who are settled abroad, they keep arguing, saying that the problem is like whenever we come up with some development, people say that already it is mentioned in the Vedas. So if that is already mentioned, why they could not come out with the experimentation and the reality that proof? If that now with your talk, there is ample clarity that because of so many impediments like funds constraint, or we were not able to understand some of the things what were explained in the thing because we don't have right people to explain some of the meanings. So there we got struck. So I just want to understand the Western scientific advancement and all that. Is it exclusive on its own without any dependence on this Veda?
I think we got stuck. Are you there?
Okay, your question has multiple components. Yeah, I will answer you the first and then cover other parts also. Today, they may not be, it is not a child asking a question like this. Okay, like even the other day, Gautam Mukherjee was mentioning when somebody said in Bengal village that the atomic explosion was there in the Vedas, Meghnad Saha got very upset and he gave abusive words. So now the point is this. First point you have to understand is the human civilization, how long it existed? Can you tell me? Is it only for 1,000 years or 2,000 years?
No, much before that.
Over not less than 100,000 years. 1 lakh years, okay?
Yes,
so during this 1 lakh years, you cannot say there was no science, there was no technology, there was no advancement. Only now everything has come. Because in 200 years only everything has come. Because the rest 99,800 years, what was human civilization doing? Were they just tribals in the forest? We had the Mahabharata war description. It is a deadly war. There is a nuclear explosion called Brahmastra. And so much of, the entire Saraswati Indus civilization, the plains, they became devastated. And then we had Sri Lanka, now we have the Ramasetu. Is it a fake? And we have the Tanjavur Brihadishwaralayam. Is it a fake? We have the Egyptian pyramids. Is it a fake? So that shows they had very advanced technology. You take, okay, you may say we are all Sanskrit fans, so we are talking like this. You go to Egypt. Egyptian pyramids are there. Are they fake? Can any of these jokers whom you are referring to construct one pyramid and show the world the power of modern science? Let alone construct, they can't understand how it was constructed. Till today, there is no explanation of how a pyramid was constructed, or how the Delhi iron pillar has not rusted till today, or that heavy weight, the single stone on the top of Tanjavur Brihadishwaralayam, how it went there, or how the Shravana this, please. And people are so foolish. Like, in the case of Aurangzeb himself wrote that I broke this temple. And that mask was already there by Akbar's time. He didn't even construct it. Even this
Prabhu sir, your audio has stopped.
Audio and video also stopped.
I think he'll rejoin.
Now we have, I think, CC Babu Garu, Subnan is already over.
It's, Lakshmi Shivram Garu also. Yeah, I'll unmute him.
Okay. And we have one or two questions in chat also about
Yeah.
Bernoulli principle.
I think he'll rejoin. Sir will rejoin.
Of course.
Yeah.
What was the fuel? There are two questions here also.
Can I just talk? I mean,
No, you wait now because he has to hear, no? Otherwise,
yeah.
I'm
No.
not expert in this Vimana Shastra. Or
It's a general information. I just wanted to talk.
yeah, speak.
Yeah, right. So this was a great talk that I was surprised when I went to the
He'll come back. Let's come back. Admin Zoom. That is this one. I just I made him the co-host. He'll be there. He's there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Right. So recently I had been to Swaminarayan temple in Delhi, and then I went on there is a boat ride, and I was surprised that there is Bharadwaj Rishi. It's the start point itself, the first entry point. There is Bharadwaj Rishi and the Vimana have kept over there, saying that the Vimanayana was there from that from the start point is Bharadwaj Rishi. He invented and all. I was really, of course, I heard Prabhu's Garu's talk earlier, and so when I saw that, I felt really happy. I thought I'll just share.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Next, Lakshmi Shivaram Garu. Unmute. Yeah.
Hari Om Mahadev.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, actually, I'm associated with Indian Women Scientists Association, which is headquartered at Mumbai. And I am also a part of this Durgabai Deshmukh Administration and Technical Committee. When this new education policy has been presented, I just suggested that this ancient knowledge which has been there, that also should be as an elective or should be as a part of a subject in the new curriculum. So after hearing, this is the first time I've attended this course, sir, and it's very interesting. I don't know how far I'm able to grasp and understand, but I have a request. Can you deliver a lecture with our association, sir? This
Yeah,
is
sure.
spread all over India.
Sure. I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
I was previously associated with R.B. Subramanian, was the project director at DMR.
Okay, sir.
And I was also associated with people at PDL. And so long back, I had association with defense. Now, recently, about 5 years ago, in the Bharatiya Vijnan Sammelan meeting held at Goa, Manohar Parrikar was defense minister, and all the defense establishments demonstrated their products, and they invited me to present this. This has happened in Goa about 5-6 years ago.
Okay, we also had a webinar from Prabhuji on VSS platform last year. We have it in the videos in YouTube. That link I will share in the group.
Yes.
So we have one question from.
Yeah, sure, sir. Actually, sir, I just have to complete. Can you suggest a book, sir? You suggested that there's a book on in Hindi. Is there anything in English?
No. English also is there, but it is not so good. Vimana Shastra by J.R. Joseph is there in English. It is not a good translation, but Hindi is better. You read Hindi.
Okay, sir. Can you just put it on the chat box, sir?
No. It is simply Arya Pratinidhi Sabha, Delhi.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Vimana.
Yes, I'll contact you later, sir.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Narasimham Garu, sir, is there any reference to Bernoulli principle and associated aerodynamics, which are needed for the design of aircrafts in the Vimana Shastra?
Yeah, similar principles and beyond are there in the Sundara Vimana. There are 4 Vimanas described, and there are 31 machines in each. It's a vast subject. Sundara Vimana has a jet principle, rocketry principle. Bernoulli principle is basic aerodynamics. It has been explained in their own terminology, not our terminology, because they have not copied from us. Okay. Like I proved in the VSS Sutras, they have their own terminology of the same phenomena of gravitation or force or acceleration in their own terminology. So we should be able to understand their own terminology to understand what we are looking for.
So pin 35, Uma Raman. What was the fuel or source of energy to run Vimanas in that ancient time?
Yeah, okay. Now listen. The Vimana Shastra focuses mostly on materials, and then the materials to make parts, and then the parts to assemble into yantras, and the yantras into Vimanas. But not all Vimanas are described, because we have only some first portion of the entire Vimana Shastra. So there are more than 30-40 Vimanas given as a list of different periods of time. So in the Treta Yuga, Pushpa Vimana is also figuring in that list. And for the Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga, in the Kali Yuga, only Kritaka Vimanas are there. In that list, Shakuna Vimana, Rukma Vimana, and Sundara Vimana are mechanical. They have been described in detail. Their mechanisms still not understood by anybody. Anti-gravity is also there. And the 4th is Tripura Vimana, which is amphibious hyperplane. It can travel in water or in space or underground, underwater. So this, the 4th Tripura Vimana was a solar powered vehicle. There is no fuel there. And whereas the Sundara Vimana has used one fuel, it's called it's like a mineral oil. And they have used one Aushmya Yantra, which is like an engine. Their own, they cannot be a copy of ours. Please understand this fact. So their own fuel and their own engine type of thing in Sundara Vimana. In Rukma Vimana, they have used suction and they have used anti-gravity mechanisms to vertical takeoff. So Shakuna Vimana is different, Rukma Vimana, all are operating in different principles. 3 principles of flight exist: rocket or jet and helicopter. So all the principles have been explained in each Vimana there. You should know the subject of aeronautics apart from metallurgy, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. Then only you can understand anything there. You cannot understand even one word without that. Ordinary Sanskrit scholars or ordinary people who study Sanskrit and pass some exam, they cannot understand even one word. You require the technical knowledge in addition to strong Sanskrit knowledge. Only then something can be understood or discerned.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Thank you. One more last question. Maybe Naga Vignesh, he says it is a curious question. Is really alien exist? How does UFO comes?
Vimana Shastra doesn't explain those things. I told you in terms of the reaction which young people like you give. Vimana Shastra doesn't talk of aliens. It talks only of the Vimanas and their parts.
What is UFO? UFO comes to Himalayas. Does UFO? What is?
You have to ask Air Force people. Air Force people you can ask.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with Vimana Shastra.
So no more questions now from the audience in the chat and also directly.
Sir, about the fuel, I would like to say something.
Okay.
Vimana Shastra. I have just read about it. Sage Bharadwaja was the first to write about Vaimanika Shastra. And
It is the
also,
same thing.
yeah. There he has mentioned that a silver colored liquid metal was used as fuel for propulsion. The metal is mercury. That's what he had mentioned in Vimana.
Used in some cases, but mineral oil also is in some cases. Mineral oil engine is also described.
Yeah, that's what mercury vortex was the fuel. It was a mercury vortex engine. And also air propulsion directly from the atmosphere, they used to take the air. That is also used in Pushpak Vimana. That's what they have mentioned about fuels. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Lalita ji. Thank you for the inputs. We missed something, what Prabhu Garu was telling, because his voice is breaking. So now we have done with our time also. Let us close. And tomorrow we are going to have a new topic. That is Panchangam, very, slightly different from science and technology we have been through for last 15 or 10 days. So we'll have something connected too close to Sanaatana Dharma, the astrology and Panchangam. Very interesting. All of you join in and then participate. Now we have more than 60 people joined. So all of you are requested to join the webinar early morning and also participate. So now we will have Prarthana from Visalakshi Mahodaya, and then after that Janaganamana. I request Visalakshi Mahodaya to start Prarthana, please.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pasyemakshabhiryajatraha स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यसेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धस्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः स्वस्ति
धन्यवादः विशालाक्षी महोदय. Let's have Janaganamana. Request all to stand up and sing Janaganamana, but don't unmute. Thank you.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्ज्वल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगल धायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद जय हिंद
Salute.
जय हिंद.